I just got the email about a new revision for TCU on B9. Oh, ECU. Okay.
Oh,
Is that only for? Weird over here. Is that only for stage 1 ECU? I'm on stage 2 ECU right now.
Stage 1 ECU. Stage 2.
it's stage 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's stage 1 and 2 update. So why don't we just dive into what we did there?
Yeah.
Nate, do you want to kind of take this one on?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a bunch of refinements we've been putting in place over the basically since we released it. It's some niggling things. Some of the later cards we're getting P0234 codes. We addressed that. Just some boost control refinements to correct that. We're working still on, this is one we've talked about before, that's a factory issue, is the wastegate stock closed fault. And so that's just one we've put some more work in to kind of quell that one across the
real fast.
Mm-hmm.
The bug?
Yeah.
It's just the OEM diagnostic procedure for that is really fussy. And you'll get stock cars that'll throw it all the time. Audi's released multiple revisions of stock software to address that fault code and that circumstance. But it's, if I'm remembering correctly, it's on the secondary air heating process. It tries to actuate the wastegate a bit and see some change in boost or the charge pipe pressure to determine if the wastegate is working or not. And that's a very fine line it's balancing there to try and figure out if the gate's moving or not with very little airflow. And it's just proven to be very susceptible to false flagging a fault there.
Yeah.
Some other fixes too for some cylinder head target temperatures. We were just trying to meet a happy point with everybody across the country with all the different weather conditions, all the different operating conditions. It's better thermal management stuff. Power D rates, just some tweaks there for real long gears, super long poles, that kind of thing. And if it's a crazy hot environment, just again, more refinements across the board. One of the big things we added, we've been getting asked about, thankfully we can answer, is we added late ECU support for stock TCU software. So you're going to have the ability now, if you've got a late 2022 ECU or vehicle and you have not been able to flash your TCU, we now have a file on the server for your ECU that will give you full power and really no downsides to it, but with your bone stock TCU software. Mm-hmm. So we had to move that basically torque limit back to the ECU and take control of that until we're able to flash the TCU.
Yeah, so there's still torque safety built.
Oh god, yeah, all the safeties are still there. It's a different managing of the messaging from the transmission for one particular torque reduction message.
We need to be clear about that because we emphasized quite a bit in the past that programming the TCU to reset the torque limits in the TCU are key for safety. Yeah. And
that's our ideal strategy.
That's the ideal where how it works in the factory setup. Because of the lack of ability for anyone to flash the factory TCU after this certain point, including none of our competitors can either.
Yes.
So we were able to re-engineer the code to move that limit into the ECU. And the ECU now can control the torque, which we've determined to be safe for the transmission.
Yeah, we were out testing it. Yeah, there's no extra load. There's no difference, what's going to the transmission.
But torque is still being controlled in a safe manner.
Yeah. All the gear reduction torques for shifts and all that's all being managed correctly. We're not, falsely reporting torque output to TCU or anything like that. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing. Is this going to unlock all you late, mid-year 2022 and up cars to get full power on your ECU.
And to reiterate, we are not flashing the TCU.
Yes, this is ECU only.
None of our competitors from mid 2022 on to 2023 and current, nobody can flash that yet. Eventually, it will get unlocked.
Despite some advertising that has come out that said otherwise, I think
deceptive advertising.
Yeah, I think they either didn't understand what the issues were or found out after they released it.
Oh, I think they knew.
But yeah, to my knowledge, no one yet is flashing the later TCUs.
Yes.
Can you clarify what stages and octanes this update applies to?
I believe it's all. I actually would have to go back and look at the listing. It's all stage 1 and 2, 1 plus and 2 plus. So everything with a stock turbo got an update. across the board.
So it's in pump fuel at 85.
Yep, all the fuels, all the octanes, all the stage 1 and 2, and 1+ and 2+ filed.
So let's keep moving along. If you have any questions about that, pop them in here.
Yep.
But very, very exciting updates and should open up tuning potential for a lot of 22 and newer vehicles. Our B9 turbo inlet backlogged, waiting on confirmation, shipped for an order placed 3 weeks ago. Gross. I have no idea what that sentence means. It sounds like someone's
Waiting for a B9 turbo inlet.
Yes.
that they got that it shipped.
No, it is not shipped.
Shipped for
Waiting on confirmation. Ship. I think this is
for an order placed 3 weeks.
confirmation.
I'm not sure what the status is on those, but they said great job, team, on what you've created for these platforms. You're welcome. We have we have done a great job for the B9, and it's a really exciting platform thanks to all the modifications.
Oh god.
So glad you could take advantage of it. And sorry for any delays. What's the long-term reliability like on these tunes? Well, it depends on your definition of long-term.
Yeah. And which tune, and I mean,
Well, all of our tunes have proven to be very reliable. We started releasing ECU tuning about 10 years ago.
yeah,
At
actually
least.
it is about that now.
Yeah.
Where it was really starting to pick up. Yeah.
All of our tunes that we've ever sold, some now have.
Well, I guess you can go back to AAN days. So no, it was.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
that was
I was talking about like kind of 270,
270. Yeah, it's about
like our TTRS.
12, 13 years ago then.
But
290,000 miles on the state.
That's right.
yeah, I mean, Nate and I together have been doing tuning of some kind on engines since 2000. So 23 years.
Yeah.
And we haven't blown up a lot of motors. And now that 034 Motorsport has a tuning program and a product line, we're not blowing up motors. In fact, I think we can still maintain pretty much a perfect track record of our tune blew up a motor. There's just there have been engines that have had issues while running our tuning that were coincidental.
Certainly met their end.
Correlation. Yeah. But no, the tuning is very reliable. On some of the newer applications, there hasn't been a lot of time, but it's been like 6 months to a year on some of the newer tunes we've released. The issue is less the longevity. A tuner like us, when we release a tune, the sample size or the numbers just grow very quickly. And if you're talking about some obscure tuner or a custom tune, you're talking about that's on one car and it's been out doing whatever. But we have when we release a tune, it's immediately on dozens and dozens of cars, and then a lot of our tunes are on thousands and thousands of cars.
Yep.
And they're safe. They are very safe. There's the impact of the additional wear and tear by increasing load, and again, it's hard to quantify that. Does a B9 3.0T go from lasting 450,000 miles to 300,000 miles with our tune? We don't know, but those are the kind of numbers we're talking. It's all very reliable and all well within the limits of safety. So.
Yeah, so I just replied, I have 30,000 miles so far on our stage 1 B8 file. Car's got 100,000 miles on it.
That's a lot of miles. And these are people aren't flashing our cars and then sitting at 5% throttle going I-80 across the country. People are flogging the living shit out of these tunes.
Yeah, I mean, you take like the group of owners that are basically going to be the hardest on the OEM car, and then you dial that OEM car up another to 11 and beyond, and
we try as hard as we can to break these things.
Yeah, we were just at the track last weekend, or the weekend before last, just hammering on these things. So we're doing everything we can to.
It's weird.
Can we cover that?
To push on these.
Since I flashed a stage 1 ECU TCU last summer and haven't reflashed to stock since, I've read on forums that it's advisable to reflash to stock every 6 months.
What?
Or so. Thoughts? That's absurd. I don't know where this stuff comes from.
No, tunes are not like underwear. You don't need to change them regularly. This is It's
What?
I have no idea where this stuff comes from.
I think
really
this
don't know.
comes from people just have literally no idea how like software
Don't
computers work.
yeah, no, you do not need to change or reflash your tune. You don't need to keep it fresh and
I think this,
sparkly in
this
there.
stuff is like it's like it gets morphed like a telephone. Like it starts out with someone's like, yeah, you have to flash back to stock so you can go to the dealer to do something, and then all of a sudden, 80 iterations later, it's you have to flash back to stock every 6 weeks.
But no, there's no reason that you would need to go back to, reflash the ECU unless you wanted to change octane or change the tune in some way.
Yes.
It's incredible.
I sold my SQ5 with 034 Stage 2 ECU TCU. If I put the buyer in touch, will he get updates, etc.? Yes, the new owner must contact tuning at 034Motorsport.com with the VIN number, and we will transfer the ownership from you to the new owner. Our tunes, stay with the VIN.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who owns the VIN. We will just transfer it. But for that reason, we don't allow our customers to sell their tune.
Yeah,
You sell
no,
a whole car, but you can't just take the tune off the car and sell it. I mean, there's no way we can control that. It's a tune. So
We've got some follow-up questions.
yeah, I'm saying.
Now that the patch file is released for B9.5 2022 plus, with a locked TCU, how will the car perform differently without the TCU?
It will perform exactly the same as our
Same.
Stage 1 TCU tune does on all of the other cars. So it's going to be the exact same benefits and performance as all of the other earlier cars that got the Stage 1 TCU file.
Like we said, we took it out of the TCU, put it into the ECU, and so now the ECU is controlling the torque. The torque's still being controlled, and it's the same power.
Yep.
This is a clever engineering solution to get around the reality of not being able to flash the TCU. What brake fluid do you guys use for your development track cars? Typically, Motul RBF 6600.
660.
Oh, sorry, RBF 660. I don't know why I said that. And Castrol SRF, which is more expensive, but brake fluid is using high temp brake fluid is good. It just means you're going to get brake fade related to your brake fluid boiling that much later.
Yeah.
So if your brake fluid boils at 500 degrees, you might get 1.5 laps on track. If you can hold it off till 600 plus degrees, 660 degrees, you might get 4 or 5 laps, but it's going to overheat. So then you're faced with bigger brake rotors, better calipers, and then, getting more air to the brakes. But usually you can just make the brakes really big and deal with it.
Yeah, it really depends where your whole system is going to basically level off with the amount of heat it's putting into the fluid. If you're right at that verge and 500 is not enough, but 660 is great, then you're going to be good. But generally with Audis and Volkswagens, it's going to, like Javad said, it's going to buy you a couple laps.
Unless you have an R8, every Volkswagen and Audi, you're going to get brake fade on track, and you will boil your brake fluid. You will fade your brake pads. So brake pads also have a heat range that they can operate in. The pad material literally starts vaporizing and melting at a certain temperature. So
it's tough because then you go past that, and then the caliper itself starts catching fire, and then brakes are tough.
That's
it's a cascading thing to keep upgrading.
Yeah, but typically brake fluid boiling and pads melting. Yeah, the first two things you see. So and going with a higher temp brake fluid won't if your pads are overheating, say after 1.5 laps, you can put the best brake fluid in the world. You're still going to have brake fade after a lap and a half. So.
Yeah, this isn't going to necessarily correct, or it won't correct pad fade. It's only for fluid issues.
Yeah, these brake upgrades, it's usually just more than one thing, and it's a system wide. There's a lot of synergies, isn't it? SQ5 S34 intake release date. We do not have a release date. It is coming, so just stay tuned. It's not too far off. We're getting close. I know there's no stage 2 for the RS5, but could I add a downpipe anyways just for the sound aspect? I'd like to pick up 034 downpipes for my stage 1 plus car. We'd love to sell you downpipes, but again, we don't have a tune that will support it because there's no benefit. What we can do for you is offer you our new ResX RS5 ResX downpipes. These are the pipes that come down from the cats, and there's some resonators in the factory ones that we remove, and we increase the size a little bit. These will be available soon. They will give you a louder, throatier sound. They will exude performance, and they will work within your stage 1 tuning with your factory cats. So I would recommend hanging out for something like that. But to put racing cats in your car just for the sound, I think is a really bad idea.
This follows another question. Actually, there's a couple of guys.
Why did you skip stage 2 B9 RS5? 1 and 1 plus, then 3 LOL. Well, there's no LOLs actually. It's for a very good reason.
We could just sell you something that didn't do anything.
Stage 1 gives you the bulk of the performance by increasing boost and the operating parameters in the engine to maximize the output of the stock turbos. Stage 1 is limited by the factory fuel system. And so the 1 plus file adds a high pressure fuel pump, which gives the fuel system more capacity. So you get more power from the fuel pump upgrade and the fuel system increase. Putting racing cats for a stage 2 produced no additional power. So we skipped that. We could sell you, $2,000 or $3,000 worth of stuff, and there would be zero performance benefit. We're really not into selling things that don't have performance. We do sell some products that exude performance, like carbon fiber covers and ResX products.
Back to the ResX stuff. Yeah.
Those aren't, $3,000. A ResX can be as cheap as $200, and it makes your exhaust sound louder. So that it's a worthwhile mod. And then stage 3 is a substantial increase in power and performance by upgrading the turbos to TT 720s. So there's a theme here that all the things that we did, all the stages we released, actually made power and had a reason to exist. So you can thank us for not trying to sell you a stage 2. There is a whole clip out on this too, yes, on our Uncut channel if you want to go look that up. But I think pretty much got the gist now. How do I update my tune now that this update came out?
Exactly the same way as you flashed it originally, if you flashed it yourself. But you just plug in our cable, fire up a laptop with our software, log into the flashing portal, and just go through and select your tune. You're going to see that the tune that was on the car will be listed underneath and what revision it was, and then you'll just have the new file to pick from. They'll all be marked with new R2.2. Select the file, the octane you're on, hit flash. It'll be about 30-40 seconds to flash it, and you're done. That's really all there is.
Yeah, and if you got the email, it should tell you all there too. If I have a 2018 B9 tune to stage 1, do I need to use the new R2.2?
It's going to have all these little tweaks we've done since we initially released the file. So yeah,
we always recommend updating to the latest version. Yep. RS5 B9 oil catch can update. We are still working on these, but they are coming. We had to go back and make some improvements and changes, and so that did delay the release. We wanted to release it last year. We need to address this. What's TT-A10 shipping times on average? Wondering how long I'll be waiting for mine. When we have them in stock, it's a typical 1 day. I know we continually have them on order, so we are going to be the fastest source of anything TT-A10. If you want to shoot an email to contact@034Motorsport.com, you can ask about the ETA. Keep in mind, we do sell these every week, and so the next shipment that's on its way is already selling out.
Yeah, we aren't ordering these.
Once that sells out, we place another order, but the sooner you order it, the sooner you get it.
We're not ordering these onesie twosie. We're ordering as many as we can, as often as we can.
Yeah, like $50,000 at a time. It's kind of brutal. We're the only ones that install. So, are ECS and CTS intercoolers good for B9 stage 2? We can't say.
Don't know.
I don't know what kind of testing or engineering CTS does in its products. I think the chances are that what you get from CTS is probably pretty close to what you would just get on eBay or something. We recommend the Wagner intercoolers. We know them. They're a German company. They do real testing and engineering.
Very engineering driven.
They have some of the best intercooler cores in the world. So the Wagner's a no-brainer. I mean, there's no reason to do anything else. What are your opinions on running 17s with 235/55R all seasons for daily use on B9S4? I'm lowered and looking for softer ride on rough roads. Currently on 18s with a 245/45.
17's getting pretty small for a B9.
That's pretty small. And 55 series is like
Yeah.
those are like truck tires.
I mean, the
Tractors.
The 18s, in my opinion, ride pretty darn well.
A 245/45 is gonna ride just fine. I think
It's going to depend on the tire.
he might be on really rough roads. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how much of that, another half inch of sidewall is really going to fix.
Well, it's probably even more than that though, because it's
Well, rolling diameter shouldn't be too much
55.
different. I mean, you're dropping half inch.
Let's hit this real fast.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. It's going to be a pretty big step down as far as performance goes, but it should definitely ride smooth. That's what you're looking for. Will I still be able to run e-files on the 2022 B9.5 patch file?
Yep.
Will the car launch accordingly despite not having TCU support?
It will launch. Yeah, all of the factory launch stuff still works. We tested, everything we could here. Yes, all of the octanes are available once that patch is applied, just like it would be. There's really, functionally, there's going to be no difference between our stage 1 TCU file for all of the earlier TCU models and how this is going to perform. So yes, all of the octanes will be available to you.